All right, boys, we're about to head to Montreal for a legendary pod with GSP. Before we get into the podcast, this episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you guys haven't tried Prize Picks, it's by far the best app to fire on sports. Instead of betting on teams, you're betting on individual players. So it's way different. Each player has a set projection, and you either choose more or less than that set projection. So if you know players and what players are going to perform in the games, Prize Picks is the app for you. It's available in 70% of the United States, California, Texas, Florida. We also got you boys on a discount code, a 100% deposit bonus code. Just use code NELK. Everyone's been blowing me up about the Prize Picks app. It's so fun. Download the app. Let's get into the pod. All right, boys, before we get into the podcast, every week we're shouting out bars that carry Happy Dad. If you're a bar that carries us on Happy Dad, or you work there, or you carry us at your store, tag us on Instagram at Happy Dad. We're literally looking all the time. We got Bounce, New York City and Chicago. We got Sea Legs in Huntington Beach, California. We got Temecula Creek Inn in Temecula, California. We got Moxie Ultra Lounge in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we got the Fountain Blue in Miami Beach, Florida. Tag us on Instagram at Happy Dad. We got GSP on the pod right now. We're about to walk in. Legendary pod about to go down. Let's get into it.
When are you flying back?
Tonight we actually have to fly to Ohio.
Oh, wow.
Because we have another, so this is like our one channel where we do interviews. And then we have another YouTube channel that we do like lifestyle content. Mm-hmm. So recently, you'd probably know this one. We went to Russia, to Dagestan.
No way.
We visited where like Islam and them.
Okay.
We before Islam's last fight, we like went to where he was training.
Wow.
And we like trained with them for 2 days. And then we, Hezbollah.
Yeah,
we
guy,
chilled with him in Dagestan, but we went all the way to Russia.
Oh, wow.
So that's like our other channel where we do like crazy shit like that.
Okay.
So today we're flying to Ohio, and we're going to spend 2 days with Amish people. So
wow,
it'll be cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Are we hot?
Yeah, we're hot.
Oh, do you know the Amish people? Do you know who they are?
The
Amish is like where they...
The religion, Amish?
Yeah, where they don't... No electricity.
Oh, I see. Okay.
No technology.
But they live
nothing.
in the what year they live? Like in the 1600s?
They kind of like, it's like kind of like pilgrims.
Okay. Like 1600s. So
yeah, but they're like living like that in 2023.
Yeah. Okay.
No TVs, none of that.
I went to Africa once and I visited the Maasai.
What?
I mean, yeah, but some of these people, they don't want to have nothing to do with the world, they just want to live the way they live, and they're happy the way they are. I mean,
when did you do that? I
did that a few years ago. Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, it was incredible. I did a few trips there. I went to visit the Maasai because I was curious. Everybody says that, if you live like hunter-gatherer, it's healthier, but how come they have a shorter lifespan? If you look statistically, they have their longevity are statistically are shorter than us. But I didn't realize that. But it's because of the rate of the baby that dies, the newborn baby that dies. They have a very high rate of death when the kids are young. And it's true. I never thought of it.
So that affects the overall number,
yeah, because
right?
us, we have like, for example, when I was young, I had a condition. I made when a baby has a fever, I had to go to hospital and they put me on a coma, like artificial coma.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have died if I would not have that technology. But over there, if you have something like this, you got fever or something, you're done. So
what did you learn from the Messiah that you took back with you?
Oh my God, they are like 99% carnivore. They they eat once a day, and they're very beautiful people. Like they're old people of like 70 and plus they look much better than ours. Like this is something I can tell you for sure. I mean, they might have a higher rate of birth when they're babies, but when they're past a certain age, they're much healthier. They look much more healthier than our people. Yeah, it's
crazy. Well, yeah, no, we just want to say this is a legendary episode for us. I told you, you remember we met in Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell the audience. So, yeah, we were in Miami. It was Izzy versus Pierre that fight weekend.
Yeah.
And then I was out to dinner with Dana and like the mayor and David Grutman. And then I meet a lot of people too. Like you guys know, we've had Trump on here, we got Elon Musk, but when I saw George walk in, I had never met him before. And like, I grew up watching your fights. Like I've been watching UFC for so long. So you're someone that like really, even though I wasn't into fighting myself, like just your whole career, you really like inspired me to want to like kind of be something as well. So to have you on, it's fucking, it's awesome, bro. We appreciate it. In Montreal too.
Yeah, absolute legend.
At TriStar Gym.
Yeah, that's right. That's
it's fucking
right.
cool.
Thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
What's your like daily life like now here? Like are you living in Montreal mostly or?
I'm more busy now than I used to be when I was competing. Because when you compete, it's a very selfish life. It's all about you. And now I have so much stuff going on. I have different businesses and I travel a lot. I'm going to Europe tomorrow, and I feel like a globe trotter sometime. You know, like I travel so much. So, but it's fun. You know, I like to stay busy. You know, I don't want to. I always want to be busy. I always fix my goal very high. You know, because if you're satisfied in life and you sit down, I feel like it's not the way to do it. You know, that's when you start to get sick. So I will probably never retire, sort of. You know, I like to train, but I like to stay busy, to be more like an entrepreneur, sort of.
How often are you still like training, even just like casually?
I try to train every day. Like now, we're talking now, but I just finished a training now. Before you guys arrive, I was training with some of the young guys that are actually gonna fight soon, and they give me a hard time. I mean, I try to look the best I can, but man, I'm 41, soon 42, May 19, and yeah, it gets harder and harder. You don't recuperate as well.
Does it, or do you still give them the beats in there when you're sparring and shit?
I still get it. You know, I still get it. I was world champion. You know, but it's just that sometimes I feel like I'm more sore. Or if I do something like a very hard training, the next morning I wake up, I'm like, damn, I didn't feel like that before, you know, or some little injuries that happened that did not happen when I was younger.
Yeah.
Is there like when you retire from UFC or from MMA, is there like a sort of relief mentally that you have?
Oh, absolutely. I never liked to fight. People sometimes they don't believe me when I say this, but that's the truth. I never liked it. I never enjoyed it. I did it because I wanted to use that to propel myself where I wanted to be in life. I wanted to have the freedom. I feel like I was just very lucky and fortunate to found what I was good at, and I exploited it, and I worked really hard. I love to train. I love martial art. I love the science of it. To come here with the camaraderie of my friend, I love that lifestyle. It gives me confidence. But to compete and not knowing if I will be hurt, humiliated, or you know, winning the fight, for me it's unbearable. It is very hard. And that's what I didn't like about that lifestyle.
That's interesting. So when did you decide, like in your life, when did you decide, hey, I want to be a fighter, I want to take this serious? And it sounds like it was for like a financial freedom.
Yeah, I didn't. When I was young, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I remember when I was a kid, I was a very very young kid. I was like maybe 12 years old, 11 years old. Like the teacher was asking everybody in the class, what do you want to do when you get older? And some were like, oh, I want to be an engineer, whatever, a doctor or whatever. And when they came to me, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I said I wanted to be a WWE wrestler because I was a fan of Hulk Hogan, because MMA did not exist at the time when I was that young. It happened after. So, and everybody started laughing, like they were all laughing. And obviously I don't have the physique to be a WWE wrestler. Now it changed. Now it's different than it used to be, but they used to be only huge, like big, huge guys, you know? So I didn't have the physique to become one of them. But when I saw the first UFC, when Royce Gracie won the first UFC, that's when I knew, like, I was like, that's what I want to do, you know? Like I see myself in this, you know? And I was at school at the time. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I I tried many different things. I was studying in aeronautic, like an airplane to repair airplane.
Mhm.
But then the tower felt. The industry crash, and I changed. I went to do become a fireman. I was accepted. I did all the physical. I was accepted at school, but I received a letter from the fireman school saying, "Oh, we can accept you. However, you're not gonna have the standard of the city to work." Because you have I can't remember which of my vertebrae is off by some millimeter. And
Wow.
and now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, no, I can be world champion in mixed martial art, but I cannot
be a
become a
firefighter?
fireman. It's kind of
That's
stupid.
weird.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was at school studying, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And at the time when I start mixed martial art, it was not something that you could do and make a living
Right.
of, like everybody was broke, but I always have faith that at one point the sport could grow to a certain level that you can make it. And I was lucky. I worked really hard, and it happened.
What was your first, like, I guess, because you were in leagues before the UFC, right?
I'm sorry.
Like MMA leagues where you were like fighting
Yeah.
for money.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your first
Oh yeah, that was insane.
paycheck was?
So
I saw you guys had to put like brand deals like on your back,
Mhm,
painted
mhm.
on your back, right?
Yeah.
To get like extra ad revenue. For
So my first fight, I remember I was I wanted to go to kinesiology in university in kinesiology, but I needed to have the money to pay for the school book. It costs money, so I needed to with an apartment because it was in Montreal and I'm from the countryside. So I told myself, I said, I'm gonna work for like a year to gain money, and when I get the money, I'm gonna go to university, and I'm gonna still training in the meantime. And if an opportunity happen, I will fight and make some money on the side. So I was at that time of my life that I was a garbage man. And I was also working in a nightclub as a security guard, a doorman. So Monday to Thursday, I was working for a company, garbage man, and during the weekend, I was working in a security of nightclub. It was a
Damn.
terrible job. It was like hip hop club. It was a lot of battle, a lot of fights. I
Did you ever have
hated
to fight like as a security in the club?
Not really. I fought not really a fight. It was very short. Yeah, I use a lot of time. I was using my talking. I was talking my way out of problem. I was like telling a guy. A lot of guy I was working with were like big guys on steroid. Like they had like roid rage. Sometimes it was insane. They fought even if they didn't have to. So I hated that job, but at that time, I had no choice to do it, and I had my first fight, and I remember every fight I didn't make much money. My first fight I made $1,300. I fought in TKO, and it used to be UCC.
Yeah.
I had like 5 or 6 fights in UCC. Then I got recruited to fight in the UFC.
And weren't at that time, were you like traveling from here to New York to train
Yes,
every day?
not every day. I was going. I tried to go every month. Also,
Okay.
like or every 2 months.
Okay.
I was going in like a week at the time, and I used to drive I remember an old Ford Tempo, and it was so bad. There was a hole in the ground, and people made fun of me. They say I was like the Flintstone, like
Yeah.
running with. I didn't know if it was going to make it. It was bad. It was a old car, but I was very lucky. I made it. I learned English. I've learned it at school before, but I was in a French environment, so it helps me. Traveling to US helps me a lot with my English. So yeah, it was a good experience too.
And then how did the UFC, like, how did you get into that?
Well,
How were you approached?
the way it happened is there was a guy. His name was Pete Spratt. He was a fighter, a very good striker. And at the time, Pete Spratt beat Robbie Lawler, who became later champion of the UFC. He beat him by with leg kicks. He made him stop the fight with leg kick. And he was very fair, very, very powerful striker. And my manager at the time brought Pete Spratt to fight me in TKO. And Pete Spratt didn't know who I was. I was a nobody at the time. And he probably thought that he was coming to collect an easy paycheck. And I beat Pete Spratt. I beat him with a rear naked choke. Adaka Jimmy, and that was my ticket for the UFC. So that's how it happened. It was a good move by my agent at the time.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's interesting with you because, dude, like you're so calm and collected. You don't seem like, I feel like if you're gonna go into UFC, like there's got to be something that sparks some anger, but you seem so calm. So
well, there's different schools of thought, right? There's like the Conor McGregor mentality, like. Love me, hate me, but don't ignore me. You know, like Muhammad Ali used to be like that too. And you know, I English was never my first language, so I always knew that if I would try to get into an argument with someone, with a guy that speak English better than me, at first it's not my first language. I'm not gonna win that battle. So I choose my battle carefully, and on top of that, I'm just not good at it. So I just stay authentic to who I am, and I try to be a good role model.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't, you know, I like to, you know, to enjoy my life, have a drink, and I you know, to live the life, you know.
Do you think being like quieter and calmer affected you? Like people looked at you as weaker, or like it affected like?
Maybe I don't think they saw me weaker than I am. I just think that I knew that a lot of guys that I fought, they tried to get under my skin, knowing that what I believe is they knew that they could not beat me if I fought the perfect fight. They needed me to do a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to make me do that mistake, they wanted to get under my skin and make me fight emotionally, which is a bad thing to do in mixed martial art. Example of that, I believe Conor McGregor did that to Jose Aldo.
Yeah.
When the first time he won the title, he got under Jose Aldo's skin so much that Jose Aldo lost his mind. He threw all his I think he threw his strategy out of the window when he went straight at Conor McGregor. And Conor McGregor is an excellent counterpuncher, and he hits very hard. So he slipped the punch and knocked him out, and I think in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That was a perfect example of someone that loses his chill.
What do you think when you see that? Because I remember Conor was talking about like the favelas, like just like, do you think like this guy's disrespectful, or do you kind of see what he's doing?
That's the nature of the sport, you know, like it's a very egotistic sport and environment that we gravitate in, and we're not on a dance floor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fighting, and when you fight someone, is the art of war. You'll do everything you can, because you can say I play basketball, I play baseball, but you don't play fighting. So the outcome of the fight could have a profound effect on your well-being. You know, you might die. Maybe you're not gonna die in the octagon or in the cage, but the damage that I'm gonna give you will make you die younger than you would normally. And it has a huge effect on your health, your income. So every fight is so important. That's why there's a lot of mind game into this.
Yeah. When you joined the UFC too, you were at like, your whole career was like, it was a pivotal moment for the UFC, right? Like, it's crazy how far it's come. And even when you retired, like, did you know it was going to be as big as it was when you first joined?
I didn't have any certainty, but I had faith that it could become very big. And I'm gonna tell you why. If you take what's the most popular sport in US, it's American football, or in the world it's soccer, right? Football. If you're in watching a match, you're among the crowd watching a match, and there's a fight that breaks out. You will stop watching the match and you will watch the fight. Why is that? Because we can all identify ourselves to fighting. I can take the nicest person in the world, put him in a situation where he's gonna have no choice to fight. Maybe he's not going to be competent at it, but he's going to have to do it either to defend himself or to defend someone that he loves. So I think for that reason, we all identify to this, you know. So I knew that it would become very popular, and it did, you know. So I didn't have any certainty, but I knew that it was something that everybody can relate to. It's not a form of entertainment that is made for everybody, of course, because it's very violent, but it's something that everybody in some kind of way can understand. It's not a game. It's like it's more than a game. It's a sport, but it's about survival. It's a very primal fight, and it used to be in ancient Greece. It was called pancration. It used to be the most popular sport at the time. So we just kind of relearned it. We never, people say, oh, it's a new sport. It's not a new sport. It's a very old sport that we kind of rediscover.
Mm-hmm. When you first joined the UFC, did you absolutely love it, or were there some things you wish you could have changed?
No, I love the sport. I love the training, but I always was terrified before every fight. And I don't like that feeling. It makes you very uncomfortable. It's very, very stressful. For me, I'm kind of lucky. I had some injuries through my career, but the stress is really what take the most out of me. You know what I mean?
How did you push through that every fight then? Because it's such a big stage. Like,
oh man, it's terrible, and you need to learn how to control your fear. And I remember at the beginning of my career, I was terrified before every fight. And you know, there's a lot of people watching you. You're not, I can speak for myself. I was not so much afraid of getting hurt, even though I knew it was a possibility. I was afraid to be humiliated. My ego in the same time, it's something that is bad, but it's something that is good because it made me the fighter that I was. And it pushed me to through my fear. So being afraid, I realized, because in the beginning I was so terrified that I thought, oh, later when I'll have more experience, I'm not gonna have that much fear. But I realized through time that every fight is bigger than the last one. So you're more afraid. Every fight is bigger, and you have more to lose because you have more people to watch. So I realized how to control it better.
How so?
Being afraid and being confident. Being afraid it doesn't mean you're not confident. You can be very confident, but being afraid as well. People sometimes they make a mistake. So the way I controlled it is I try to focus. I try to be very objective and not subjective. I try to focus only on the thing that I control. The thing that I do not have control, such as am I going to win or lose, what people going to think about me, what my opponent is doing right now, and things like that, I do not control. So I don't focus on that at all. I try to ignore it completely. The thing that I control, how hard I get, how hard I train, you know, am I doing the right thing? Did I study my opponent? Do I know myself? What are my strengths? What is my strategy? These are the things I need to control. The thing that I need to do to win the fight, and it could vary depending on who I'm fighting, but I need to find out. It's my duty to find out a way to solve the problem, and those things needs to be done at all costs. Me, myself, as an entity, I don't exist. The way I feel, am I afraid? Am I sick? It doesn't matter. But I need to only focus on the thing that need to be done. And if I do that, I will slope the odds in my favor. So the outcome will take care of itself.
On the flip side of that, when you are victorious or you get the dub, your emotions completely change.
Yes.
Is that super temporary, or does it stick with you?
When you win a fight, is just incredible. There's,
I bet, yeah.
It's a relief. There is no pleasure without pain, they say in philosophy, and it's kind of true. It's like you need to push yourself through pain in order to have the pleasure. You know what I mean? It's very hard. Like it's in everything. Like if if you like to eat, and like I remember when I fast, I do fasting sometime. When I fast for 3 days, I am at the table eating with my friend, breaking my fast. And we all eat the same thing. I'm telling them, I'm like, my meal tastes better than all of yours because I fast for 3 days. It's the same thing in fighting.
What the fuck?
You did so much sacrifice for your training camp. You sacrifice so much time, freedom, and you have to push yourself through training, and and it's hard. And when you make it and you win, you achieve the win. When you lose, it's heartbreaking. But when you win, it's like, wow, because you have so much to lose. And I think that's why it's such a high.
Yeah. I mean, you had only 2 losses, I believe, right? So
Yes.
Walk us through that. Like when you do take the loss.
First, people don't know, but I have only 2 losses as a professional. But if you go back before, like I started my career when I was 19. If you go back before, when I was doing amateur karate, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, I have tons of losses. I've lost many times. I've lost before I learned how to win. And that's how it is. People, they only see me winning and I had a great career, but they don't know that what I had to go through, and that's what makes the difference sometimes between someone who makes it with someone who doesn't. It's hard when you lost sometimes because you put so much on the line, you prepare yourself and then you lose. It's heartbreaking, and it's very hard because you feel like, man, it's depressing, sometimes. And when you dedicate yourself so much to this. But it happened to me many times when I was young. But every time I've lost, I've learned why I lost. I identified a mistake that I made, and I made sure that I never made the same mistake twice. I never made the same mistake again. Which mean doesn't mean I'm not gonna lose again, but I'm not gonna lose for the same mistake. So you have to see your life, your career, as a marathon, not as a sprint. It's not one thing that will define you. It's the sum of all the thing, at the end, it's not all you start, it's all you finish.
For sure.
And I was fortunate to have a lot of experience through martial art, growing up before my career, before my professional career started in mixed martial art. And I had many losses, but I've learned how to win and I improved during that time a lot. So when I got to my professional career, I had a lot of experience. That's why I had only 2 losses.
Yeah.
But those losses that I had in my professional career always taught me something. I tried to see the positive in the negative situation. Those losses, the first time I lost, it was against Matt Hughes.
Yep.
I was fighting my idol at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was an up-and-comer, and it was my 3rd fight in the UFC. And I was fighting this legend, Matt Hughes. It was like, for me, through my eyes, if you look at the stare downs against Matt Hughes in the beginning
you weren't even
of the
looking
fight,
at him, right?
I could not even look at him in the eyes. I was looking up. I was like, man, it's impossible. I didn't even believe I could beat him. Like I didn't see myself beating him. Like I couldn't sleep the night, the week before. There were no scenario in my head that I went through that I could beat him. I didn't know, so I took the fight. I was very scared. And I did a good fight, but he cut me with an armbar. Yeah. And it's after the fight, when I watched the fight, I sat down and I watched the fight. I realized, I was like, man, I could have beat him. And it taught me something. I should never put nobody on a pedestal. Everybody is a human being. We all need to drink, eat, go to the bathroom. We're all the same. So he's a human being and I can beat him. So that's why when I fought him, after the second time and the third time, I beat him. And I beat him, not that I beat him easy, but I beat him more decisively because I had confidence. Mm-hmm. And confidence is very important in everything you do. You can have all the skills that you want, but if you don't have confidence, it's like someone who has a lot of money in his bank account, but no way of accessing it. So for the magic to happen, you need the skill and the confidence.
Yeah.
What changed after the Matt Serra loss? Because I know I've seen you say that before. You're like, after that loss, you changed up everything. You changed up your style.
So when I became champion, I beat Matt Hughes. I was on a high. Now it was the opposite. I had too much confidence. And I had a lot of people telling me, "Oh, you're the I was a new kid on the block, like I was very young. I was like, I just beat the legend Matt Hughes, and everybody was telling me how good I am, and I start to believe it, unfortunately. And I was fighting a veteran, Matt Serra, at the time, who really nobody really gave a chance to beat me because all the odds was against him, And I remember the odds in Vegas were crazy, and I respected Matt Serra, but I felt like I was not scared enough. And before every fight, I don't sleep very well. I have a hard time sleeping. And Matt Serra is the only fight that I slept well.
You slept like a baby?
I slept like a baby and I got knocked out.
That's crazy.
That's not a good thing. So the fight with Matt Serra taught me that I should never underestimate nobody, because you're always at one mistake. No matter how good you are, how good people tell you you're always at one mistake to lose everything. And I've learned that. And since then, every fight that I took, I was scared. And that fear helped me to perform better, because I used that to be sharper, to increase my reaction time, to put more into my training, because I was afraid to not be ready as much as I could. The fear helped me to be more explosive, so I like to be afraid. I think now I learn to appreciate it in a way that I know if I'm not afraid, is something wrong. Giving the experience that I had in the past, I need to be afraid. That fear make me stronger and help me perform better. I think a lot of guys, the fear crumble them.
Yeah.
That's one thing about a champion, I believe, is someone who's good at an elite in every discipline, everything in life. A champion, like an elite, is good to perform when it matter. He's good when it counts.
Yeah.
Everybody can be good in the gym, but when it counts, that's what matter.
For sure.
To be good when it counts. And a lot of guys, they can't do that. They can't pull the trigger when it counts, because they're mental, they're weak up here. And a lot of it has to do with your mental.
What do you think are some, like, whether it's training or your mental over the years, that you had as like an edge over your opponents? Like, was there anything you did specifically that's like, yo, this is going to help me win that?
Yeah, I've learned how to control my fear, and I learned also, like we talked, to focus only on the objective things, and it helped me build my confidence. Confidence it's something that you can build up. If I make an analogy, and you're at school and you have an exam in a week, and you don't study the night before the exam, you'll be afraid. It's normal, but you're not going to be confident because you did not study. But if you study hard and well, the night before the exam, you will be afraid, but you have the right to be confident. And that's what I did. Before every fight, I did not cut corner. I did everything I needed to do. And I trained hard, and most importantly, I trained smart. I did the best I could do. I leave no stone unturned. So I gave myself the right to be confident. I was afraid. I was terrified, but I was confident. And I always told myself there's no courage without fear. And I seek the help of a lot of sport psychologists, because I really thought, I was looking around in the gym, and a lot of fighters that were like happy to be fighting on Saturday night, and me, that was not the case. I was scared. If I could have clicked my finger like this and fast forward until the fight is over, I would have done it every time. The waiting was unbearable. So I remember I saw many sport psychologists, because I thought I was not made for this. And they all told me, a lot of them, they say, George, stop saying you're afraid. You're not afraid. You're excited. And I'm not excited. I'm excited. I'm excited if it's minus 20 degrees in Montreal and I know I'm going to Miami at the beach next week. I'm not excited to go fight in a cage, not knowing if I will be hurt, humiliated, or the victor. I'm afraid. And then I'm like, you know what? I should not be afraid to say that I'm afraid. And there is no courage without fear,
Nice.
What was it like when you're at like the height of your career? Because you became like a superstar pretty much, you know? Like how did the fame kind of change your life? And like, I'm sure there's temptations or like chicks or parties or like.
A lot of guys, they told me, oh, if you say you don't like to fight, why did you do it then? Well, I did it because I wanted to have the freedom, the girls, the money, access to things that most people don't. I'm 100% honest with you. That's why I did it. You know, I like the confidence that it gives me. I like the martial art changes my life. I was bullied as a kid, and I first started martial art as a self-defense. Self-defense transformed into a passion, and now I made a living out of it. You know, so it changes my life, and that's why I did it. I didn't do it because I like to beat up someone in front of other people. Like I don't like it. But in order to make money that's the price to pay. And you know, when you're a champion in UFC, you fight maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So the night that I'm fighting are the worst days of my life. You know, I hate it. But after, when it's over, I can surf on it and I have a very good time, you know? So that's the way I see it. So if you make the statistic on 365 days in a year, 3 days or 2 or 3 days that are bad, it's a kind of a good thing, you know? It's a good average.
Do you remember one fight when you noticed like the fame really like rose? I know that's a hard question, but.
No, during the fights, you know, every fight is bigger than the last one, you know? But I remember in one of my fight, I was fighting, I believe it was BJ Penn, and I was in the locker room. I was extremely scared as usual. And when
first or the second? There's 2, right?
I don't know if it was the first or I think it was the first one, if I believe. I think it was the first, and I remember I saw we have a little TV and then in the locker room, and sometimes they show the celebrity and who's in the attendance. And I saw Cindy Crawford, and she used to be my favorite. Like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And still today, she's like an amazing woman, you know? And I saw she was in the crowd. I was like, oh my God, she's going to be watching me perform. And I was nervous. I was already nervous. And during the fight, there was a moment that my nose is bloody and I got BJ Penn against the fence. And I look through the fence. And you know, like when you watch a movie like Rocky, you know, they put slow motion but these really happen when you're a fighter. If you ask a fighter, because you fight, you're on survival mode. So sometimes you have the impression that from your perspective that the time slows down. And
it's what, you got hit and then you look and you're like, see Sydney over there?
The way, what I mean is I had BJ Penn against the fence.
Yeah.
And I looked through the fence and I saw Cindy Crawford. This is true story. And I'm thinking, this as imagine the time that it lasts, but that's my perception of how things happen. I look and I saw Cindy Crawford. I'm like, my God, she's so beautiful. and I'm thinking, I'm like, I look at her and I'm bloody and I'm in a clinch over under, and I got BJ Penn's back against the fence. I'm like, she's so hot. And then I look next to her. She's with her husband. And I'm like, oh shit, her husband is watching me staring at his woman. I'm like, of course he does. I'm doing the show right now. And then I get back into the fight. But
that's amazing.
That instant seems to me like it was like at least a good 5-10 seconds. When I watched the fight and I tried to pinpoint when it happened, I can't really see. But I have a memory that it happened. Or maybe I'm just too brain damaged or something, but no, I think it really happened.
Well, did that like give you that extra step or energy to pick him up and slam his ass, or what?
I wish, but it's just to tell you that sometimes our perception of certain moment change according to different individual. In a fight, sometimes I remember one of the fight I fought Jason Miller. I'm on top of him, and Jason Miller is on the bottom. We're near the fence. I think we're in half guard, and I throw big elbows. And his cornerman, I saw his cornerman. They're screaming at me, "F you, Frenchie! Go back in your country, Frenchie!" And then I look at him. F you, and then like boom, boom. But for me, from my perception, that instant lasts at least five seconds. You know, that moment. But when I watch the fight, I try to pinpoint. I can't. I think I know when it happened, but I can't really see it on camera. But it really happened. I remember that moment.
If I was your opponent, I'd have Sidney Crawford in my corner and you'd be distracted the whole time, bro.
Oh yeah, like if you have Cindy Crawford in your corner, I'm lost. Like no, that's a good way to beat me.
Did you have a bunch after like a big win? Like, would you go celebrate or have a crazy night?
Oh yeah, of course. I worked hard, but I play hard a lot.
See, you're right. You said that before. I would have never guessed that.
Listen, listen. Like I try to be a good role model to have a
Which
a good image.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I stand for. But that doesn't mean I live like a monk. I remember when I fought Thiago Alves. That's one example, and every fight was like that. When I was younger, like I fought Thiago Alves. We used to go to an after party.
Yeah.
And after the after party, we used to go to another after party and another after party. And then we end up at they used to have a pool party at the Hard Rock Hotel called Rehab.
Okay.
People of my generation remember that because it's a legendary party. So we used to end up all at Rehab. And it's always funny because the guy that I fought, Alves, was there too. So we were drunk as hell. We saw each other and we're like, hey, we start taking pictures and people are like, they just fought. How come they're a friend? I'm like, that's just the nature of the business.
Yeah. I actually want to ask you about that. How important is that to leave it in the octagon? And what is it like when people like, have you ever had an experience where someone doesn't clear the beef and they just hate you afterwards? Or is it always kind of like, hey, we're doing this for the same reason?
Well, it happened that, you know, like guys have like really personal issue with each other. It never been the case for me. I see it as a job. And to tell you the truth, I kind of love my opponent in a way that I don't hate my opponent. And the reason is why if I hate my opponent, it's a little bit like if I hate myself, because when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm a little bit similar to what I saw across the octagon. Because that person probably made a similar sacrifice than I did. He had a very similar life path than I have, very similar. So I can identify to him much more than I can identify to anybody else. You know. So for me, it's important that I respect that. You know, like we give it all. We go all in when we do that. And there will be only one winner and one loser. Like the winner takes all, sort of, you know, like take all the fame, take all the credit, and you know, and it suck, you know. But I have to respect that. It takes a lot of courage. And I know a lot of guys have personal beef, and there's guys that I fought that I have no grudge against them, but I know I could not really be friend. It's a question of compatibility, you know, and some guys I'm cool with them. Like Michael Bisping. Last time I went to England, we had too much to drink, you know. We had a really good time, and you know, like it's a guy that I fought, and before we fought each other, it was a lot of trash talk. He was talking
a lot of shit.
Oh, a lot of shit, yeah. And one of the best thing that he did actually for leading up to that fight was, you know, with a lot of the stuff are like promotional stuff. We do press conference and things like that. But the best thing that he did, and he's a clever guy. We were in Toronto, and after one of the press conference, we went back to the parking lot to our cars, and our cars were in different locations. But to go to the parking lot, we had to go through the same spot. And when we did that press conference, we had a stare down, and he kind of went to touch me, so I had to push him, you know. So when we went in the parking lot after the press conference, I think he saw that TMZ was there. So he walked back to me in the parking lot and he went face to face with me. He said, hey, keep your FN on you, because next time you do that, I'm gonna smash you. I'm like, what? I was like, F you, keep your hand, you touch me first. So don't touch me if you don't want me to touch you. And then this thing, like, and people separate us. It wasn't staged. but because it's real. Like I didn't know, like the way I felt when that happened, I was like, man, does he really want to fight with me? And so I was ready to fight if something happened. And I'm sure the same thing for him, but he did it in a promotional way to instigate me.
Yeah.
But that was very smart because that went viral. It was crazy. So when you say that certain things, it's not staged, it's real, but it's with some of the fighter take it personal. I never did. When it's over, we shake hands and it's over. But sometimes some guys, they take it personal.
You said that one of the critiques or something that people did say negative was you didn't cause enough drama in your career. So do you think that that's like essential? There has to be that beef and people have to be yapping at each other in press conferences?
No. You don't have to, but most of the fight are promoted on emotion because people can relate to emotion. If two guys fight each other, like for example, like two guys fight each other, they're very, very skilled, but you don't know about them. If you're a fan of, for example, of MMA or boxing, and you see two very skilled guys fighting each other, that will get your interest to watch the fight. But if you don't know who's who,
yeah, what
will get you tune in is the fact that, he talks about my wife. I can't believe it. He said this. You can't say that. You never talk about someone's wife, like something. Then you can relate to that. Then you can say now because it gets to you because you can relate to that thing. So you will be emotionally involved into the fight. The storyline, it's important that it has a story. So the story is what promote the fight. But the fight is not one on emotion. It's one on mundane thing that you do every day, how you prepare yourself.
What's going on is Snoop, and I'm here to announce that the new Happy Dad and Death Row Records flavor is grape. And now, it's officially in stores. I chose the flavor, and the team at Happy Dad, they spent months perfecting it. And it's my new favorite drink. If you're chilling at home or turning up at the club, make sure you do it right with the Happy Dad and Death Row Grape. Call your local liquor stores and see who has it. It's everywhere now. You can also order it on GoPuff app, Instacart, and Drizzly in some areas. You gotta be 21 and over and drink responsibly. And also, look out for the official Death Row and Happy Dad merch collaboration. Please believe it when I tell you this.
Do you think, or have you ever seen anybody like cross the line, like when they did say something that you were just like, whoa, that's not promotion anymore?
A lot of guys, I think, cross the line in a way, but there's no rules. So for example, for me, I'm very good at putting a shield on myself. And I believe I've learned that because I was victim of bullying at school, and I've learned that at a very young age. And it was dramatic when I was young. It was a very negative experience, but it helped me later on in my career in MMA because nobody can get to me. Mm-hmm. Here, they can talk shit as much as I want. It's easy. But if someone would, for example, talk shit about someone of my family or someone that I love, now it's different. It will get to me. That's why I never expose my family. I never talk about it. Never. Like it's nobody knows about it. It's the greatest thing I ever accomplished in my life, and I'm the most proud. But it's a secret. It's something I care about. It's like my treasure. I keep it for myself because I know a lot of people have exposed them. Mm-hmm. And look what happens sometimes they when they talk about other guys' family. Now it gets bad. It gets bad. I think it crossed the line, but there's no rules. It's a fight game. You can die out there. So people will do anything to get to you.
I'm obviously I always think everybody thinks about McGregor Khabib when it comes to that. Like when
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But that's the problem. You don't want to expose your weakness. This is the fight game. You never want to expose your weakness. There's many ways to make you lose your mind. Like some guys that will do everything to make you lose your mind. They will cross that line. So and I'm aware of it. So
that's smart.
Yeah, there's some people. They everybody's different, and there's no wrong to do this. Some people like to. They show their private life and stuff. They expose, but when you do that, you need to be aware that
people are coming for that.
You show you put your card on the table, man. You know what I mean?
So fast forward, you're on the huge win streak and then the Johnny Hendricks fight. Why do you decide to retire then? And what did you kind of do during those 4 years?
Before I fought Johnny Hendricks, I was going through, I was afraid to talk about it because I thought that people will not respect me and will laugh at me because, they will say, I was going through a depression. And people will be like, what he has to complain of, he's rich, he's popular, he's the champion. Some people are poor, like what he has nothing to compare. But I felt like I had too much on my shoulder and I felt claustrophobic. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I had a hard time sleeping at night. I was going crazy. And I was on top of that fighting against performance enhancing drug in the sport. And I felt like the UFC at the time did not have my back. They didn't want it. They didn't want any part of it. And my goal doing
like testing, you mean?
Yeah, the testing, yes.
So you're fighting guys on PEDs?
Oh God, like I can't say it's wrong for me to accuse someone because I don't have the evidence. But I'm in the fight game. And in the fight game, among fighter, we know who's who. You know, there's only a few guys that, doctors that do certain things for certain people. So it's a small world. So I know who's who, and to tell you the truth, I never wanted to attack one individual. I wanted to change the system. And I wanted to change the system. I wanted to do it not to hurt the UFC. That was not my goal. I wanted to elevate the UFC, elevate the sport. Because it's the outcome of a win or lose are very dramatic in our sport. It could influence the life of an individual. It could be very bad. So this is one of the reasons why the athlete should be clean. It's not like baseball or you lose a game of basketball, you lose and it sucks. But you lose a fight, man, you can die out there. So for me, it was very important to try to change the game, and it was to elevate the UFC. I wanted to clean the sport, and the UFC didn't have my back on that at first. They didn't want nothing of it, and they even tell the other guys, don't take the test, and it drove me crazy. And at the time, if I would have if I could go back, I would have hold my stand. I would say, you don't want to do the test. I'm out. I would have even retired before. I was going nuts. And I was afraid to talk about it. And I'm glad that, for example, Tyson Fury come forward. And there's a lot of athletes, sometimes they come forward because it showed that it can happen to everybody. The image that you have of someone is your perception that you have is not sometimes the reality of what's going on. And everybody can have some problem sometimes.
Does that put pressure on you to be like, hey, I got to get on PEDs so I can compete with these people?
Man, sometimes I'm going to tell you the truth. I ask myself, I say,
you had to
how good would I be if I would have taken some stuff? You know, how good? Because I know some of my training partners, they tell me, and they say, they take certain things, and I see it's like it's not even the same people when they are and they are not. Like it's a crazy difference. You know what I mean? So people that say, it has nothing to do with the performance because I'm the one who threw the punch. I'm like, yes, it has something to do. And this is a bullshit excuse because when you take performance enhancing drug, it changes you not only physically, it changes you mentally. Every training camp, my friend, when you go to a training camp, it's the loneliest feeling in the world because you feel very lonely. Even though you have a big entourage, you feel lonely because you go through something that only a few people can identify to. And it's very stressful. You're burned physically, mentally because you train, you're overtraining, you hurt everywhere, but you have to go through them. So waking up in the morning to go to the gym, it freaking sucks. And it takes a lot to do it. It takes a lot of determination to do it, to push through that. So if you put yourself some performance enhancing drug, it helps your endocrine system. It changes you. So it makes it easy for you to go through that. So it's not only physical. Yes, it's physical, but it's also mental. So that's why it's for me, it's unacceptable. You know what I mean? It's like I'm fighting you, but I have a knife in my pocket and it's supposed to be a bare knuckle fight, but I go clack, clack. Yep. That's the same thing. That's a very similar thing. With the technology now, that we have, it just makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Such a difference. Just look at the Tour de France, the cyclists. We can't, fighting is a very subjective sport because we always can speculate, oh, this guy is better than this guy, because we don't really have the data, you know, like, but if you look at sport like track and field, weightlifting, stuff that we can measure, the sport that we can measure. Look at the Tour de France, the year when they start testing people, I think it's the guy that finished something like 15. Like now that it's just the sport that you can measure the performance, it's just insane. You see the difference. It makes a huge difference. And then put that into fighting, it's the same thing.
Yeah, for
Makes
sure.
me want to take it.
It just makes you physically
right?
better, but mentally more creative. It makes you better as
Everything
well.
you're saying sounds so positive, bro.
If you're not competing, it sounds we should start.
Well, and no, but listen, I'm not against performance and enhancement. I'm against performance enhancement in the sport when you sign a contract and it's supposed to be fair.
Yeah.
You're not gonna take it. I'm not gonna take it. But then I go and I take it.
Yeah.
This is not fair. I'm not against it. For someone who wants to improve the quality of his life, and he needs some testosterone to make him happier, to help him train, to take care of his wife, or man, go for it. And who knows? Maybe when I'll be to a certain age, maybe I'm gonna use it too.
Yeah.
I'm against.
Yeah, not in competing.
Yes,
yeah, of course.
yes.
Makes total sense.
When it helps to enhance the quality of the life of an individual, for sure, I'm 100% for it. But for a sport, to make it fair, nah, man, this is bad. This is wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you do like during those 4 years to kind of overcome like the depression and stuff like that then?
I took time for myself. I went on. I'm a big fan of paleontology. I've studied paleontology for a very long time too, since I'm a kid, and I had a chance to go on a world tour, sort of. I went on different sites. The fact that I'm some kind of a celebrity, a professional athlete, gives me the chance sometimes to have access to things that most people don't have access. So I went on different sites around the world, like on dig.
That's
dinosaurs.
bones.
Yeah,
right?
I did a show called Boneyard too, and I went on different sites. It was unbelievable. Like I went on a site in Patagonia in Argentina. There were fossilized eggs of titanosaur. It was insane. When the sun rise, we went in the morning. It was just insane. There were like 100,000 of it. It's
Holy
insane.
shit.
And you have to watch where you walk because you can step on it. Incredible sight. Like I went on a place that in Dakota, like Pete Larson told me that the paleontologist that was there, I had a chance to meet many paleontologists, microbiologists, and I went on site and on different dig, and there were like a place where it was maybe like a tyrannosaur nest, like where they like you see a lot of triceratops femur bone were crushed like crazy. Like
did you see any like crazy like T-Rex like things?
Yeah, so I saw a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I saw a Triceratops, like femur, like the mark of the bone that is crushed by a T-Rex, because Tyrannosaurus Rex used to have the bone crushing power bite. It's incredible.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw that myself. So I went on the site, and it makes me realize something too, because growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but at one point I was like leaning towards becoming a paleontologist at one point, but I had to go study in Alberta. That's the best place to be for that. And I didn't want to go there. And now that I went on site and I live a little bit of the life of some paleontologists, I saw what they had to go through every day. And now I realize that life is not made for me. I like to acquire the knowledge, but to get on a site and like to brush the ground and like for hours, I'm like, no way.
That's cool.
No, I can't do it. I don't have the patience.
How did you get into like wanting to do that? Like you're just always like dinosaurs?
Yeah, I always love dinosaurs. I love paleontology. I'm very fascinating about the past, the study of organism that disappear, the past, like not only dinosaurs, I like our past, like the Neanderthal, the Denisovan. We know now that our species, Homo sapien, have mingled with Neanderthal, with Denisovan, because they identified the gene of Neanderthal. So most of us have Neanderthal gene inside of our DNA. And it's fascinating. I feel like there's a big part of our history, something that is unknown. And I know that if you learn about the past, that helps you understand the present better, and sometimes helps you also to predict the future. So for me, that's why I love it so much.
Aren't you also prepared for like an alien invasion or aliens abducting you?
Well, I don't know if there's alien, but man, if you watch the news now, there's a lot of crazy evidence. I just watched a show 2 days ago called Moment of Contact. It's something that happened in Brazil in 1996 in Virginia, Brazil. Man, it's very compelling evidence and witnesses, like doctors, politicians, like it's crazy.
But do you have some sort of strategy to make sure you don't get abducted?
How are you prepared?
I thought we read something like that.
I'm gonna tell you. When I was young, I talked to Joe Rogan about that, and when I was young, and I'm sure a lot of people had the same thing. I had what they call sleep paralysis. I mean, I don't know if it's what I have, but it's probably what it is, because it makes more sense. Like when you sleep, you wake up and you kind of paralyze. And so I think that's what I have when I was young. And then when you're in those instants, apparently your brain can produce DMT, so you start to seeing things. I don't remember that I was seeing things, but I remember that I remembered, because I told my mom. I was like, hey, I was a kid back then. I was like, hey, mom, the monsters come get me at night. And I used to draw them. I still have the drawing of them. And it's scary. So the theory is that it's sleep paralysis. And I hope it is what it is, because man, if it's really monsters, like when I was a kid, that's pretty bad and it's scary,
I want it to happen now. I want to see you'd go fist with an alien, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't even need a weapon with aliens.
No, I think if they come here, if they get to us and we don't know how to get to them, that's
the biggest problem.
But I saw a UFO once.
Did you?
Yeah.
Can you tell us
the
story?
alien thing? I don't know. I think it's sleep paralysis thing, because there's no evidence. I saw a UFO once. It's true story, and I was not alone. Some people can. Some very good,
Were you in Montreal?
No, it was in New Mexico. And sorry guys, but I'll talk about it. I was with Rashad Evans, was it Mike Van Arsdale, Ali Abdelaziz, who's Khabib manager and Kamaru Usman manager, is a friend of mine, and another guy named Alejandro. And I'm not the most credible witnesses, because I don't have no background in astrophysicists. I don't know if what I was like, I don't know, some kind of celestial event, that it could be explained.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you something, that all 5 of us saw something. And what makes it so weird is it makes us look bad, because when we talk about it, we describe it in a different way. But we also saw something, because when it happened, like it lasts about 10 seconds. We all went like a little silence, and then, holy shit, did you see this? Oh my, what the hell was that? And we were all there. And it was me, Rashad, Ali, Mike, and another fighter that I lost contact with him, Alejandro. He was a Mexican guy. I used to train in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I can't tell you my version of it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you talk to Rashad, or the way they describe it is different, because I remember I heard an interview, I think Rashad was talking about it. I was like, man, that's not really how it looks to me. And I don't have a clear memory of what it was, because I never seen anything like it. I never seen anything like it. So I cannot recall this thing looking like anything that I've seen. That's why we call it UFO, but it might be something very that we could explain. I'm not an astrophysicist, but I'm sure if Neil deGrasse Tyson was in the car with us, oh no, guys, that's actually Venus that is coming out tonight, or whatever it is. but it didn't look like that to me. It was some kind of I think it was like a greenish sort of triangular light coming towards us. We're on the highway in the car, and I was in the back seat. It was a greenish triangular shape coming towards us. Then it changed direction, and it went away. It kind of materialized and dematerialized, like, and then it disappeared.
Damn.
So there's nothing I can't say that it's nothing similar that look like this that I can say, you know. But that's how I recall it, and I don't have a clear memory of it. And I remember Rashad or Ali, the way they describe it, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we all look like freaking liars talking about it because we cannot identify to anything that we know that look like this. So you look at a plane, we identify this. Oh, this is a plane. We all know what a plane look like. But that's why it's a UFO. We don't know what it was.
I want to see you have an alien in a rear naked choke.
I'll double leg an alien with a rear naked choke.
I wanted to ask about two personal questions. I wanted to know two like fights that were like, I don't know if they almost happened or maybe they never were even close to happen. But one was Anderson Silva. You guys were both at your primes.
Yeah.
Was that fight ever even being talked about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could have happened. And we talk about it. I was with the UFC. I remember with Lorenzo Fersta and I think it was Dana. We talk about it, but I had a request because I was on a tear. Back then, I was on a tear. I was defending my title on multiple time a year.
Yeah.
And it was at the time right after, I remember I saw Roy Jones go up in the weight class. And when he tried to go down, he got knocked out by Antonio Tarver. And all my trainer told me is, you see what happened when you go up? Going up is not the problem. It's when you try to go back down, you screw your career, you know? Because you don't play with your weight like this. So when we talk about Silva and I had one request. I said, okay, I'll fight Anderson Silva, but in a catch weight. And Silva used to fight in Japan at 160. Used to be at 170 in Japan. Used to be in the same weight as me. He used to fight in Japan. So I say, I'll fight him in the catch weight. He go down a little bit and I go up a little bit.
Of what, like 180 or 175?
Yeah, something like 180, something like this, you know. A catch weight, you know, and because it's you know, it's
in the middle.
It's in the middle, you know, like it's a give and take. It's equal. It's a fair compromise. And also I want to test for drug. I want drug tests. And at that time, it was before USADA and UFC didn't want that. They didn't want starting drug tests because some guys already implement drug tests. When I fought BJ Penn, we did VADA. When I did Hendricks, I did VADA, but it was before, a little bit in between, it was a little bit before Hendricks, that situation that happened. So I said, no problem, I'll do it, but catch weight and drug tests, no problem. And they didn't come back. And also the money, they wanted me to fight on my existing contract. So I'm like, guys, like my agent said, it's not good because it's something different. They want you to do something that is out of your field. So if it's out, you need to be compensated for. You're taking more risk, you need to be compensated for. So the UFC never wanted to do it. So this fight, I think I will blame the UFC for that.
Was Anderson into it?
I think he was. I don't know if he was because we don't talk directly to my opponent. I think he wanted. He shared interest of fighting. But it's very easy publicly. I love it. Oh yeah, I'll fight him. But then you put some crazy request that will never happen. That's the way to do it. So you don't look like a. Even if I would have lied and said, yeah, I want to fight him and put some crazy requests. And my requests were not crazy. They were really doable. They were fair requests. And he was not interested. Same thing with Khabib. Khabib at one point.
Yeah. So was this one actually ever even being talked about?
I thought it was the only fight I would have come back for. And I remember up to his last fight when he fought Justin Gaethje, I was a commentator in sport broadcast, RDS, French sport broadcast. I was doing the commentating.
Were you there?
No, I was in Montreal. It was during COVID. I was in Montreal, so we couldn't travel here.
Yeah,
it's crazy rules, but anyway, so I was stuck there. And I was doing the commentating, and everybody told me, even in his entourage, just say, be ready because he's going to call you out. So I thought, I was like, okay, I'm coming out of retirement. I had butterfly. I was like, shit. When I thought I was done, they pulled me right back in, like the famous line, like Al Pacino, I think he says in the movie. So I was like, okay. And then he won. He took his mic and he retired.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming. Even his own people.
We were there.
Yeah.
His own people didn't know that.
I remember looking at Dana.
I knew some people in his camp told me that he was going to call me out and he retire. And you know what? It's maybe better like that for both of us. So we have a good ending. Because if we would have fight, one of us would have lose, you know? So it's a good thing, Like I look at it now, I'm like, maybe like when you're in a competitive mind, you have to be greedy, you have to be selfish. I was thinking about it to do it,
Really? So I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were actually into it.
It would be very uncomfortable for me because I don't like to fight, but it was the fight that would get me to come back for, because you have a lot to lose, but a lot to win too. So it was worth it. So I would have done it.
Damn.
Yeah.
But it was it was not at a good time. And at first, after I retired against Bisping, when we asked for the UFC for this fight, before that, UFC always said, "Oh, we have other plan for Khabib." They wanted to keep the ball rolling. Why you want to take a risk to lose your big name against a guy who's retired, and you don't want to,
because then you fight and then you're just retired again.
Yes, and that's what I would have done. And they know that. And it's normal because it's, you have to do the best for your interests, but they were not interested. But they called me a few years after that Khabib took his retirement. Dana told me, hey, a few years after, would you like to fight Khabib? So when I see Dana White calling me on my cell phone, I'm like, shit. I always take a pause. I'm like,
what does he want?
I tried to think about why he was calling me after a few years after that happened. And then when I saw his name, I was like, shit.
He doesn't want to go see dinosaur
No.
bones,
It's not no dinosaurs or things like this. I'm like, okay, it's about the fighting. I'm like, okay. I took the call. Say, hey George, would you like to fight Khabib? And it was past that moment, and I was, and then I was like, I thought about it. I say, if I say no, he will tell everybody the news that I'm the one who said no. And I knew that Khabib maybe did not even know about it. So I asked him what Khabib said. Oh, yes, he's ready. He's on board. And I was like, that's bullshit. I'm sure it's not true. So I said to him, okay, let me a few days. I'll talk about it, and I'll get back to you shortly. Hang out. The next morning, I think the next day, Ali Abdelaziz, he's a friend of mine. He came up and said, oh, now we wait for George for many times for the fight, but now he wants to fight. It's too late now. So I was like, oh, that was bullshit. So he didn't want to fight. So he twisted the story. But they know the way, when he called you, he used emotion. He goes, hey, this guy said this about you, he said that, blah, blah, blah. He didn't say that against Khabib, but that's what he said about, for example, Nick Diaz, or when I was fighting him. So when I told him, he said, oh, Khabib, oh yeah, he's on it. I'm like, yeah, I think it's bullshit. I didn't say it about, I thought, but we're playing a game of chess. I'm like, okay, like I'll get back to you very soon, okay? And I just wait a little bit, and man, that was all BS. So that wasn't true. So that's the timing is the UFC is the timing. The problem with the Silva fight and the Khabib is the timing.
What if Khabib was in though?
I didn't want to. It was past. It was like already like 2 years after that moment that he retired. I think it was 2 years, or like it was like I was done with it. I didn't want, but I knew, because when you talk to Dana, or we talk professional. I like Dana, but when we talk business, like when it's business, it's business. Yeah. And it's all strategic with them. So if I would have said no, he would have turned around and tell everybody, oh, GSP doesn't want to fight, so it's bullshit. So I didn't want that to happen. So I said, you know what? Because I knew that, I thought it was weird. I knew that they did not agree on the other side. So I wanted them to come out publicly first than me, because it makes me look bad. Yeah. So it's a lot of things like this when you fight. You need to be aware of this. Yeah. So when a promoter call you for some things, oh, he said this, he said that, or because sometimes he try to lowball you. Sure. It's like, oh, this guy said this. Oh yeah, make me sign the contract. I'm gonna fuck him up. Like then you sign the contract like an idiot, and you go fight but you get screwed. They lowball you. Yeah. So I'm aware of all this, you know. I know the game, you know. That's the game of fighting.
Both of you guys in your prime, Khabib and yourself. Who do you think? You think you could beat him?
Of course, it's me. No, but he will say the same thing. You know, we're fighters. You know, fighters need confidence to be successful in a
because he
fight.
never fought someone obviously with your, I don't know, maybe I don't think like with your wrestling, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah, but
would've
I
made
never
it
fought someone like him
True.
either. You know, so we could only speculate and tell you the truth. There's only one way to find out, and we'll never know. You know what I mean? And the thing is, we in the game, in the sport, in combat sport, it's very, very rare you'll see two guys in their prime fighting each other. You'll see two names fighting each other, but you never fight the same fighter twice. So you might fight the same name twice, but it's never the same fighter. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, they make adjustments, all that.
Yes. So fighting two fighters in their prime, like, it's very hard to do. The Silva one could have been that.
That would have been huge.
But it did not happen. I just paused I had the request. They didn't fulfill my request. They didn't even came back with, when I was talking about drug testing, they're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I understand why. Because at first, when they first started doing drug testing, you see how many of their champion that fell.
It's not
I never wanted to
not a
work
good
UFC.
look for them. Yeah. If they
It was
start
bad
implementing
for them.
yeah.
It was bad business for them. But look now, it looks better. It was bad in the beginning, and I think they were aware of it. But in the long run, it makes them look better. It elevates the sport. It elevates the standard because we have better testing now than most of the professional sport, and it's important. And I think they could be proud of that. You know. And I'm glad that I helped elevate their standard for that.
Yeah, I just have a couple things too. When you're at your peak at the UFC, right, and like you're on top of the world, you have all the fame, all the money. You said you deal with anxiety and stuff like that. Were you ever like, was there ever a moment like this is all going to be gone one day? And how am I going to still be the man?
I knew at one point that the only way that it could be gone, that anxiety, is if I retire. Because the moment that I'm to get ready for a fight, it's stressful. Then you fight and you win.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that you win a fight, there's another guy. GSP, I'm gonna fuck you up. There's another contender right away. And right away is another one. And so you're never in peace. There's always another guy and another guy. And so, man, it's never the end. It never ends. There's always another guy. That's the nature of the business. And they don't, UFC, I try to speak for them, but if I put myself in their shoes, they don't want a fighter retiring with the belt. As a fighter, we all want that. We want to retire on top with the title on top of the game, unbeaten. But for the UFC perspective, for the promoter perspective, they don't want that. They want their champion passing the torch to the next generation. So it's because they pass the torch for business is better. Yeah. And I understand that point of view, but it's my life, so I do what is best for my interests. They do the best for theirs.
Finishing on top too, like
is that something important to you? Dope. Like, because you are often referred to, like, is being referred to as the GOAT something you care about?
The GOAT is, I wanted to be the best. You know, that was one of the things I wanted. There is two things that I wanted. There was three things that I wanted to do in my career. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be known as the best. I wanted to have my name like a symbol of excellence, you know, in my sport. When I think about Georges St-Pierre, you know, I wanted to achieve that, and I did the best I can, you know, and I'm glad what I did, you know. I also wanted to change the standard of the sport. When I first started, people came in tank top in the press conference, and they were like, they look like freaking bums. Like, how do you want to be respected as a legit athlete if you don't act like one? So I started wearing suit. People make fun of me in the beginning. Remember, Tim Sylvia was making fun. He was like, hey, look at you. I'm like, man, they say, yeah, I got more sponsor than you. Why you think is that happened? You know,
Yeah.
because I take care of the image. You know, it's important. You try to look professional. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that now they have a dress code. You know, I helped change that part of the game, and I also helped change for the performance enhancing testing, and I'm glad I did it. You know, I did it to elevate the game, to help honest fighter that perform under honest condition. You know what I mean? And I know there's a lot out there. You know what I mean? But they had to go through that. And also, I wanted to retire on top. I didn't want the sport to retire me. And it was very hard for me in a way that you always feel like you leave money on the table. And I believe that if I, you know, I got sick after, but I could have come back. And even sometimes I watch the fight and I'm like, man, I think I can go back. And, you know, like, I'm not going to lie to you. I think sometimes, maybe it's just an illusion. Maybe it's my perception of what I think I can do is wrong. Maybe I'm right too. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, it's very tempting sometimes, but it demands a lot of discipline. You know, the money that I think maybe I left on the table, I gain it back because I retire on top.
Yeah,
and my health is more important. To go through another training camp of freaking 8 weeks, hardcore sparring, flying out, training partner, and getting smashed. You know, it takes a lot out of you emotionally, the stress, and also physically. And I don't feel like to go through that. And when you retire on top, you can turn around, and there's a lot of opportunity that opens to you in business. If you retire on a losing streak, those opportunities, my friends, are gone. So what I tell to the fighters, the young fighters, is I'm like, you better retire before than too late. You know, there's a line of retirement. Let's say the perfect line. It's better be under the line than over. Because when you're over, you screw your after career. You know, and I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I had the discipline to do it. You know, sometimes it was tempting for me, and it still is sometimes, because you take the fighter out of the game, but you don't take the game out of the fighter, sort of. You know what I mean?
I guess last thing is, like, who do you think's the most impressive guy right now, or like the next guy up to take over UFC?
Man, there's a lot of guys that are very impressive. Adesanya is very impressive. His last fight was just phenomenal. And the ending was like a
insane,
like a Hollywood scenario. You know what I mean? Like it seems like he was hurt. He was in the corner, and then boom! That was incredible. The ending was just incredible. It was very emotional. I like John Jones. He came back as an heavyweight, and he had an incredible performance. I like also Volkanovski. Yeah. Even if he lost, I think he proved right now that I believe he's the best pound for pound for me in my book right now. Right now, Volkanovski is number one.
Did you think he lost that last fight?
I don't know if he... I did not... I watched the fight. I did not judge it. I think going into the decision, I think both guys could have won the fight.
Yeah.
The judges saw it one way, but I think they both could have won.
Yeah.
So it shows that because Volkanovski is the smaller guy, and Makhachev is just a killer. You know, he's on a different level. But for me, when you have some kind of an equal performance, I tend to
take the dog,
to worship more the smaller guy, because he's smaller. You know what I mean? He's the one that goes up. So for me, that's why he's the number one guy, Volkanovski, right now in the prison, among the prison fighter, pound for pound.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, dude, you're a class act. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Is there anything you want to, any businesses, anything you want to shout out or anything like that? Where could people find out like what you're working on in your businesses?
Yeah, I have a lot of businesses, base block equipment, home equipment, you know, like my food supplement, Warrior, Heart and Soil. I got a vodka that comes out very soon.
Ooh, we're going to have to try that.
Yeah, Pur Sang. It's a very good one. And yeah, man, I am just very happy to have all the support of many people. You know, they stuck with me, and yeah, I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you, bro. You're the man.
Baby.
Let's
go.